So we get asked all the time here at Zone, what makes a safe rig when towing a caravan? There's obviously two key aspects to that, and that's the caravan and the vehicle. Now we're a manufacturer that's really focused on safety. We try and do everything we can to make sure that every zone is as safe as possible on the road. We're going to run you through a few of those things today, so follow me and we'll show you a little bit more. So before we get up to the hooking up and whatnot of the caravan at the front end, it's probably important to talk about the weights of the van. There's obviously national concern growing for vehicles that are overloaded, car and caravan combos that are above the GCM. So for us at Zone, obviously we've got a slight advantage because of our lower tier weights. But what we do is we make sure that we weigh every caravan as they're presented to the customer. So the day before handover, it goes to the weigh bridge. We get the actual tier weight and we put that on the VIN plate of every caravan. So you know what your starting point is, so you don't exceed that GCM. So it's important when you're buying a caravan that you get the manufacturer to supply you with an individual weighbridge docket for your caravan, not just a generic number on your VIN plate. All right, so now that you know the weight of your caravan, it's time to hook it up. And obviously the connection to the car is like the most important thing that we're talking about when you're towing. So we use at Zone this DO35 Hitchmaster off-road coupling. It's fully articulated, but the main thing for my mind that's of benefit here is that it's a really solid connection. So when she's on there, it just locks off and there's no way that that's coming off. Yeah, when you've got the van, it's obviously important to keep the service, keep it lubricated and clean. Also at the front end here, obviously, is the towing chains. Make sure your manufacturer is giving you stamped chains so you don't have any dramas down the line, and also rated shackles. The other safety features that we're running up here, obviously, is the Dexter anti-sway. So we put this on all our caravans. It's really just a precautionary thing. So the main thing for a caravan to make sure that it tows safely is really the design of the van. So where the axles are positioned in relation to the hitch point, and we've spent a lot of time doing testing on that to make sure that we've got it spot on. So inherently Zone doesn't have an issue with sway, but in case you get that rare circumstance where you might have a bit of sway, the DSC here is going to pull that out for you, and it breaks each side depending on the movement of the sway. So having that running is really important. Seeing the green light when you hook up is probably the most important thing, other than making sure she's connected to the caravan, obviously. Over here on the other side is the breakaway. So this is if the van does come disconnected from the car, it's going to put the brakes on the trailer and arrest the caravan. So the main thing with that is making sure that when you pick up your caravan that you're getting charged through the 12-pin charge. If your manufacturer is doing the 12-pin, one of these pins is going to be charging your breakaway battery, which should be in your tunnel booter inside the caravan. So it's really important that before you pick up your caravan, you know what the wiring is required in your car. It'll vary a little bit. For us at Zone, we keep it pretty simple, but basically one of the bottom pins here is going to charge your breakaway inside, and there's a charge light on there. So you want to make sure when you hook up that you're getting charged to that breakaway, okay? It's very important, obviously, if this does need to be used, which is obviously an accident situation, that battery's charged up and it will stop the trailer. The rest of the gear going on here is obviously charging. That's important. It's not such a safety issue, but making sure that works well, and it's a high grade cable, so you are getting the proper charge through to your batteries. And then we've got our camera input here. So we use Safety Dave, and we use a dual vision camera. So it's on all the time. It's showing you who is behind you when you're on the highway. It's also showing you, if you select the low camera, what you're approaching when you're reversing up. And that's a really key safety thing now, I think. It shows you who's overtaking, or if you are overtaking, when you can pull back in. So it's a really nice feature, and we put that on all of our zones. We also supply the car side, so you just need to get that wired in, and then when you're hooked up, you're pretty much ready to go. All right, so we come back here to the tyres, and obviously tyres are one of those controversial ones where people have got their own opinions on what tyres they've run for years and what they like. But the main thing is to know what the ply rating is on your tyre. Also, the tyre is fit for purpose. So this is an off-road zone, so we've got all-terrain tyres on here. They're 265/75, so they've got a nice big wall and they'll protect it when off-road. The other thing to know on any tyre, regardless, is your tyre pressure. So knowing what the recommended tyre pressure of your caravan is, check with your manufacturer. It should be on your VIN plate if they're doing the right job, and then running that as your on-road tyre pressure, and knowing what you can go down to off-road, because obviously if you're running on corrugation, softening these tyres is going to make a massive difference to the juddering inside the caravan. So that's the thing to check there. If you're lucky enough to have the airbag setup that's available as in our Zone caravans as an option, then you need to know also what your airbag pressure is and the ride height of the caravan. So we're running vehicle component suspension on here. They're set to half of the swing arm travel as your recommended ride height travel. So you want to make sure that you know how to get to that. If you've got the automatic system, obviously that's easy to get to. If it's manual, you're going to have to measure it each time. So this one's actually on a wireless system. We'll set it up to our around about our height that we know, and then we're going to just check what the pressure is, and we're going to make sure that we're within the guidelines for running on the right pressure, so the caravan's not too soft, it's not rolling from side to side, or again it's not too stiff and you're jarring the caravan for no reason. So one of the other really key things to consider when you're towing any caravan is the tow ball height and the orientation of the trailer when you're towing it. So what I mean by that is you basically don't want the caravan to be nose up or nose down, or drastically anyway. You want it to be reasonably level, just a slight bit of nose down. Now the contributing factors there are obviously your tow ball weight. So where you put your things inside the caravan is obviously important. Now every vehicle has got a maximum tow ball weight. You know, the highest level is sort of up around the 350 kilos, which is getting up there. We sort of recommend around the 250. So, you know, at Zone, we've really designed the van so when you're putting your gear inside, you don't exceed those limits. But it's obviously important to check it, and you can get little tow ball weight compression things that you drop under your ball, and it tells you what your van weighs on the ball before you tow it. And that's a pretty good investment. I think they're around $50. Now with the Zone, what we've got, because of our composite flooring, is we've actually got this crank in the front of the caravan here in the drawbar, and what it does is it really stiffens the front end, but the main thing is that it puts the tow ball height down into the ADR regulation range. So when you come and hook up, if your vehicle is set up to the regulation, then this is going to fit on there perfectly, and it's going to orientate properly, so it's not nose up, which makes it sway a little bit more. It's going to be level or a little bit nose down, and it's going to tow like a dream. So those are the main tips on towing a caravan safely. Now there's obviously a lot more to it. Talk to your manufacturer, that's the main way to know. Now I'm no expert on the vehicle side, but I do know Glenn Haddon down at Roo Systems in Brisbane, and he's definitely a four-wheel drive off-road expert. He's going to tell us what he thinks we should do to this work truck to make it safer for towing a caravan. G'day Gleno, how are you mate?
Matt, good to see you again.
Good to see you, thanks for having us down here.
You're welcome.
So we've done a little bit this morning about setting your caravan up for safe towing, and obviously you guys are the experts on, you know, tuning your truck up and getting it ready to tow, so we thought we'd come down here and have a chat with you, get your ideas on what we should be doing to the work rig really to get it good for towing.
Well, there's a few basic things that I look at it straight away and I see it needs a snorkel. Fresh, cool air, always up there instead of sucking it from under the guards. The other thing is, because it's an electronic diesel these days, they're all governed by a computer, and we can easily get up to 30% more power, up to 15% better fuel economy. It's safe for towing, safe for pulling out and overtaking. But if you can imagine another 30% towing those big caravans, it just puts your mind at ease when towing, right?
Yeah, it'll make a big difference.
Absolutely. If you're taking your Zone RV because they're an off-road caravan, off-road, tyres, you know, you want to get a good off-road tyre like a Cooper ST Max is a great on-road and off-road tyre. You don't want to be stuck with extra ball weight with extra pressure on your rear tyres. So it's things like that, you know. We've got your catch cans as well. Like these diesel engines like to breathe a lot, and that's oil that's circulating throughout the engine. Now we can put a catch can in which separates the oil and the air. It's one of the biggest killers of these engines is because they're smaller engines with high capacity power. You have to put these aftermarket mods on them to make them last longer. Another one is like a diesel manager, which is a fuel filtration system. It's an extra filter we put in line. When you're traveling in remote conditions, the diesel fuel might not be what we know it in the city, right? Sure. So you want to put an extra filter in there to weed out the rocks.
Yeah, and that helps the engine long term.
Absolutely. The factory filter will still refine really fine filtering of like sand and dust and small bits and pieces, but you want to stop the bigger pieces, and water is the biggest killer as well. So it's a water oil separator for your fuel. So we've got 70 series Land Cruisers. We actually specialise in pulling out the manual gearbox and putting the automatic gearbox out of the 200 series in them. Wow.
You'd say an auto is probably easier for towing, right?
Auto is much easier for towing. It'll actually drops your RPM down by 500. You're sitting at 100 kilometres an hour at 1500 RPM. Wow. You've got to save fuel there. A lot of families are caravanning these days. You've got the kids and the wife in the car. You know, a standard four-wheel drive is just not made to suit the Australian outback.
Tow a big rig, right?
Absolutely, and towing a big rig.
Yeah.
They have to be customised to make them safe. So, Matt, look, I know we've only got a couple of days, so the couple of the big items here for me is a flash and exhaust, safe overtaking, better fuel economy, a snorkel, some airbags, And mate, we might put some lighting on there as well.
Fantastic, mate.
Going to be travelling at night time?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we can get that done the next couple of days. That'll make it safe for you at least anyway.
Perfect. Sounds good, mate. I really appreciate you doing this. Thanks so much.
Easy as.
See you
See you in
soon.
a few days.
Cheers, mate. So we've got the Nissan back from Roo Systems. I've got to say they've done an amazing job getting it set up. We've got a nice performance increase in the engine. They've done oil catch cans, fuel filters, all sorts of nice stuff. Big exhaust. They put the airbags in the back so we're nice and level here when we're towing. It's obviously very important. They put the clear view mirrors on here, so the extendable mirrors, so we've got nice vision down the side of the van. So we're all set up. We've got our brake controller working. We've got our rear vision mirror mounted camera up on the screen here. So we're all good to go. So next stop is Melbourne, and we're out of here.